Good evening, everybody out there in Chester County. Coming to you straight live is none other than me, Brother Fonz, on City Town Talk. I have a great guest this evening, and look, I just want to take my time because this is a little bit different type of format than Live from the Stair Steps. So I'm trying to be a little bit more technically proficient, and I have found myself to be wanting and just a little bit nervous, but that's okay because I'm going to still try to be me. Now, first of all, I got to welcome everybody, man. And I'm your host. My name is Fonz Newswan, and I'm just so glad to be able to do what it is that I'm doing. I have a gentleman here that I've been knowing for about 5 or 6 years. His name is Ramsey Coulter. But I want to give you a little backstory to Ramsey Coulter, man. We met approximately 5 years ago. And I came up with this idea of having something called the Coachville Dream Team. And that was based on having a lot of people that had dreams and aspirations, want to be entrepreneurs, better at life, you know, things that we all were in there, just like cheering each other on, giving each other inspiration and ideas in regards to entrepreneurship. And who was there? None other than Ramsey Coulter. Now, wait a minute. Ramsey came for a couple of months and we talked, and, you know, we went through all kind of steps. We all were strategizing how we would branch out and do what we were doing. I had no desire to get into a new business, but I did want to do this dream team, be a motivational speaker. Well, Ramsey was with us approximately 2 months. And then the next time he came to a meeting, he said, Fonz, I quit my job, man. I'm just going to do this credit thing full time. I'm like, he went gangster, jumped out of the airplane with no parachute. But sometimes when you're approaching your dreams, sometimes you just got to do it. Sometimes you maybe not even having a plan B. Just go after that plan A until you make it happen. And this guy is a representative, and sure enough, of what he's done. Now, for most of you who may not know him in Coachville, yeah, everybody just about knows him in Coachville. But the thing is, he has helped so many people get homes, repair their credit, and it's never been all about money or anything like that. And so, which is why I really dig him. I dig him so much, right? But look, now I'm gonna have him introduce himself. I'm gonna try and find this on my iPad or my phone because I want to monitor you guys. If you got questions for him or anything, I want you to chime in, ask your questions, and I will give it to him in real time. So with that being said, I just want to introduce you to Ramsey Coulter. Ramsey, I want you to take away and do what you do. And I'm going to try and work these electronics so I can answer some questions. Go for it.
Sure. Yeah. So thanks so much for having me on, Fonz. My name is Ramsey, Cory Coulter. I got 3 different names, whatever you want to call me. That's all right. I answer to all of them. But yeah, like you said, you know, Fonz, we met approximately 5 years ago at, you know, the Coachville Dream Team meetings. I don't even recall exactly how I heard about it, just from people in the community, just from people I'd helped out, you know, when I was working part-time doing credit repair and just helping out, you know, mainly friends and family and friends of friends of friends. And, you know, I was invited out to come to the Dream Team meetings and talk and listen and get to know other business owners in the community. It was right down the street from where I lived at the time. And it was a great time. And I still talk to a lot of people from those meetings all the time, even to date. You know, there's a lot of business owners that are still thriving, which is awesome and amazing to see because, you know, 5 years is the cutoff. You know, once a business makes it past 5 years, they're considered a real business. And so there's a lot of businesses that were maybe part-time businesses at the time or just starting off, and now, you know, they're full-time businesses and they're thriving, helping the community. And you've had a couple of those people on here already. And yeah, it's pretty great. So I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, good stuff. Hey, well, look, somebody that you knew that was with us, Paul Thomas. Paul Thomas said, "What's up, fellas?"
What's
Cass
going
Rowland,
on,
who is
Paul?
the creator. Yeah, Paul Thomas. You remember him?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And then we got Cass Rowland, who is the creator of Big Boy Barbecue Sauce. He said, hey, guys, Iris Holmes, who's been with us since the beginning, Roseville Dream Team, Nelson Ojeda, he's on here as well, and he's watching as well, man. So hopefully this evening, everybody who's listening, we can get some tips, learn a little bit more about Ramsey, and get some tips. But before we go on any further, tell us about your family. Are you married? Do you have children? What's going on?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I've been married for coming up on 8 years. In October, it'll be 8 years. I got 3 boys. So I got almost 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 1.5-year-old. So we got our hands full, especially during these times. 3 boys running around, screaming and fighting, loving on each other all at the same time. And so yeah, you know, so I and this might not be a very popular thing to say, but you know, I grew up in Downingtown. I'm a Downingtown guy. I grew up in East Brandywine, right next to West Brandywine. Some of my neighbors went to Coatesville, and you know, kind of growing up, my mom got saved when I was 0. When I was 1 year old, my mom, not even 1 year old, my mom got saved, came to God, and you know, she was on fire for Christ, and she, you know, we started getting involved in all different types of communities. You know, we were heavily involved with, you know, Pastor Jack Kranz and the Old Mill Bible Camp. So for many years growing up as a kid, as, you know, 6, 7, 8-year-old, I was at the Old Mill Bible Camp, making relationships, growing up, you know, helping her teach classes because it was short staffed. Of course, it's always short staffed. And so, you know, as a teenager in high school, you know, I did a couple of years or a few years there where, you know, I was a camp counselor at the Old Mill Bible Camp. We did a lot of Bible studies in Coatesville at what used to be called the YWCA, which is now called the CYWA, for about, I don't know, probably eight plus years. We were involved with City Gate. And so, you know, even though I was homeschooled, so I didn't know nothing about this rivalry between Downingtown and Coatesville until I got to high school and started playing sports. But, you know, I didn't get it because I grew up knowing a lot of people from Coatesville, and there's no difference to me. But yeah, so I did want to say one thing real quick. There is a lot of people I'm involved with the church I go to. They're starting a church in Coatesville called City Well Church. And so if I invite you guys to like that page, please like it, share it. They, you know, obviously right now is a hard time planting a church during a pandemic, but they plan on starting in September at Cash, at Coatesville Area High School, which is about 5 minutes from where I live. And I am a Coatesvillian. I do live in West Brandywine and right by the hospital. So, you know, I told Fonz the other year, I said, well, hey, I'm Coatesville now. so I just want to get that out there. Right. But anyway.
Okay, before we get into good enough. Before we get into the first question, I just want to announce some people that has come aboard. Andre Cooper is watching. Jamil Leal is watching. My man Urias Cole, he's probably at the hospital with his newborn baby. He's watching. Gloria Hollis said hello, Fonza and Ramsey. Andre Cooper said, Ramsey, you're number 1 credit guy. And Teresa Hicks is on board. Now, my first question for you, these are frequently asked questions. And so we're going to dig right in. First thing we would like to know is, are Credit Karma scores real, or any free credit monitoring sites? Are they real?
Yeah. So there's always a catch. Anything that's free, you know, there's a catch involved with that. Credit Karma is a marketing site. So they market to you. They make money off of anything and everything you do on their website. If you apply for a credit card, they make money. Even if you don't get approved, if you get approved, they make more money. If you apply for a loan that they recommend, they get paid. Anything you do on their website, they get paid from. Their scores are called Vantage 3.0 scores. They are educational scores for the most part. They're scores that the credit bureaus created to try to compete with FICO, which FICO is the main scores that banks use. It's the only scores that mortgage companies use. And practically all banks, with applying for a car loan, for the most part, it's going to be a FICO score, probably a FICO 8 auto industry score for a car loan. But yeah, so any free site, Credit Karma, Credit Wise, Credit Sesame, they're educational. So take them with a grain of salt. They're good tools. You know, they provide some correct or accurate information. You know, if they say that you have a new credit card, you have a new credit card. If they say that your payment, you know, if you paid down a credit card, that means your credit card balance went down. If they say there's a new medical bill for $500, guess what? There's a new medical bill on your credit. So some of the stuff is accurate. It just doesn't show everything or a full or complete picture. So you got to be careful with those free tools.
Okay. We have a question from Miss Iris Holmes out here in Coatesville. She said, hi, Ramsey. If you have a student loan and medical bills in collections, do they both have to be cleared before you can purchase a home?
Okay, so that's a great question. Hello, and so medical bills, I'll attack medical bills first. So medical bills don't necessarily have to be off your credit. They don't have to be necessarily paid in order to qualify for a home. If you talk to a lot of mortgage lenders, they'll say medical bills don't matter. Well, that's partially true. Medical bills don't matter when it comes to debt to income ratios. So you don't get penalized for having medical bills in your total monthly payments, but it does penalize your credit score. And so it still hurts and brings down your scores. But there's plenty of, I mean, I had a client, you don't plan on going to the hospital and not paying the bill. Normally, you don't plan that out. I had a client who was in a bike accident. He was helicoptered to a hospital, and that bill was about $80,000. He didn't plan on getting in a bike accident and owing $80,000 for a helicopter ride, and he still was able to buy a house, even with that $80,000 medical bill on his credit. It still hurt his credit, but he still could get a mortgage. Student loans are a different ballgame. So, and it depends on there's two different factors. There's two different types of student loans. There's private student loans or federal student loans. So federal government loans have to be in good standing to get approved for a mortgage. Because if you owe the government any type of money, you will not be able to get approved for a mortgage. You'll be in an alert system called the KVERS report, which doesn't mean much to most people, but when you're applying for a mortgage, if you're in the KVERS system, you automatically get denied. So people who owe federal taxes, people who owe child support, people who owe judgments or tax liens, if anybody sues you, you automatically cannot get a mortgage. If it's private student loans, if they didn't sue you, then normally you're not going to have a problem getting a mortgage with private student loans in collections, depending on if it's with a bill collector or if it's just charged off. There's a lot of different factors. But yeah, if it's federal student loans, you need to get on a student loan rehabilitation program. You call them, you pay usually $5, $10, $50 for 9 months. And once you do that and complete that, then they consolidate your loans and they take them out of collections, and then you can get approved for a house after that.
Man, that's some good stuff right there, boy. That's all right. That's where people coming in and watching. Now, I have another question here because the questions are starting to come in. This gentleman said, can you explain why it's important to have a collection paid and deleted rather than just paid, stays on your report? I think many people don't know.
Yeah. So that's a great question. Thanks for asking that. So paying a collection in of itself does not necessarily improve your credit. So when you have a collection, whether it's $0, $1, or $100,000, it hurts your credit practically all the same. There are different scores, and certain scores might penalize you more. but practically all the same. For mortgage purposes, most people who contact me want to get a mortgage. So when it comes to getting a mortgage, it doesn't matter if you owe money, a lot, a little. You know, I have people all the time, well, that's only a $20 collection or a $30 collection, so I don't care about that. Well, I'm glad you don't care about it, but your FICO score does, all the same. And so when you pay a collection, you want to make sure that the only reason you should pay a collection, there's two reasons. One, if they sued you, right? If they took you to court, well, you got to take care of that. And we're going to pretend that federal student loans and child support, we're going to pretend they're not collections, okay? Of course, you got to pay them. I'm not going to say that. But a collection, a credit card bill, a medical bill, a utility bill, the only reason you should pay them is if, one, they sued you, or if two, if they agree to delete it. If they agree to delete it from your credit, you get all the benefit in the world. If they don't agree to delete it, what I just said earlier was paying it's not going to really help your credit that much at all. Certain models, it will help. Like, so there's, and I'll explain that. So certain models, there are hundreds of different credit scores. People don't realize that, but you have hundreds of different types of credit scores. There are different versions. FICO, which is Fair Isaac and Company, that's the company that creates FICO scores. They get paid to create FICO scores. They come up with new FICO scores every few years. They're up to version 10 right now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 different versions, and each version has different scores for everything that you do. There's auto scores, mortgage scores, credit card scores, student loan scores. There's scores for everything that you apply for. You have different types of scores. And so that's why when you buy a car or try to buy a car, they run your credit 10 or 20 times because they're getting different versions and different scores from different dealerships or from Capital One or GM Financial or Kia or Toyota. They all have different versions that they use and different credit bureaus that they use. And so now I do realize I'm getting super technical, but that's how credit scores work. And so certain versions like FICO version 9 doesn't penalize you for paid medical bills or paid collections as much. But most versions, like I said, most people come to us because they want to buy a house. And those, they use very old versions, version 2, 4, and 5. Those versions penalize you every single time for a collection, whether it's paid or not. So sorry for the long answer, but.
And so, hey man, we're going to keep you on here as long as we can, because it appears that this is a very interesting topic, because I've got a lot of people that's coming on. But let me acknowledge some people. Puerto Rico, it's good to see you. J. D'Angelo, Patricia James, top of the evening to you. Michelle, how are you? Danita, Tony, Jamal, Lamb, Me, Chung, Mabel Span, home of the barbecue out there in Westchester. Michelle Dillard, one of our greatest contributors to our Secret Santas. Darnell Anders, Alexander, my fault. And look, so wait a minute, here's another question. Is there any way, I'm trying to look up so you can stop seeing the top of my bald head. Is there any way a business can get its D and B number properly published without paying a bunch of money for them to do it for you?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And the answer is yes. Yes, you do not have to pay Dun & Bradstreet. So, okay, so what people don't understand is, so when you start a business, when you register that business as an LLC or a corporation, or you apply for an EIN number, an employee identification number, and you say to the government, this is a business, you're going to get a lot of solicitation. You're going to get phone calls from Dun & Bradstreet. And so now we're talking about business credit. And that's okay. I'll talk about business credit all day too. Business credit is completely separate from personal credit if you build it properly. Okay. And so Dun & Bradstreet is the biggest credit bureau for business credit at all, but business credit building. There's also Business Experian, a small business Equifax. TransUnion's just not in the business credit reporting game, and that's okay. But you will get calls from Dun & Bradstreet saying, oh, hey, you know, we saw that you started a business and you need to pay us $500 or $1,000, and we'll help you establish your Dun and Bradstreet number quicker. Well, guess what? I've helped a lot of businesses get their Dun and Bradstreet number in the matter of days, sometimes weeks, and it's free. You don't have to pay them to do it. That's like saying you got to pay a lawyer to file your LLC. You can do it yourself. You can hire a company. You can hire an accountant. You can hire a lawyer. There's so many options out there. You don't have to pay somebody to do this information, but you might want to pay someone because they might know how to do it properly. But Dun and Bradstreet, you don't want to pay them. It's a waste of money. Go on Google and how to get my free Dun and Bradstreet number. There's a company called nav.com. It's like Credit Karma for businesses. It's a free credit monitoring for your business. Now, yes, if you want to see your business credit score, you have to pay them. But if you set up a free account with Nav, you can then, sorry, my phone's going up. But you can set up a free account with Nav, and there's a button that says register my business with Dun and Bradstreet, and it's free. So that's that answer.
Man, and we're going to have you here all night, man, because the questions are coming in now. So screw your wig on real tight, fasten your seatbelt, because here we go. The next question is this a good time to refinance your home? And when and how can you refinance without having to pay closing costs again?
Sure. So it depends. The answer is it depends. Is now a good time to refinance your house? Well, that depends on many factors. Are you still employed is the number one question. If you are, then you can proceed to step 2. How is your credit score? If your credit score is good, then you can proceed to step 3. Step 3 would be, do you have any type of equity in the house, or did you just buy a house? I had a client who just bought a house about 8 months ago, and they just started the refinance process because 8 months ago they got 4.5%, and now they're getting 3.5%. So there are factors, but yes, if you answered yes to those questions, yes, now is a good time to refinance, and you can reach out to me and I can connect you with a mortgage lender. I know tons of mortgage lenders, and I also do mortgages myself, so I could help you. And if I can't get you the best rate, I can refer you to someone else who can. So yes.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Hey, Derek, it's good to see you. I know you moved out towards the other part of the world, man. It's good to see you tuning in. Juanita tonight, good to see you. Margaret Grove Hines, my part-time next door neighbor, good to see you. Hi, Lori, how are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. We're going to get on with the next question because we have a ton of them. If someone is looking to buy a home, is now a good time, especially with interest rates being basically zero. How do you see this virus pandemic impacting the housing market and people's mortgages? And Mr. Cole, you want to get 100 questions in? I like it. Or so like he said, how do you see the pandemic impacting the housing market and people's mortgages?
Sure. So multiple things there. So one, I'll start with interest rates are not at zero. Okay. The banking, the Fed fund rate is not the rate that you get mortgages at. That's the rate that banks do business together. And so about a month or two ago, the Feds said that the Fed fund rate is zero. That does not mean you're getting a mortgage for 0% interest. I wish that were true. I would be so busy I couldn't even talk right now because everybody would be refinancing their houses, and I'd be working till 5 a.m. every single day. But rates are very good. Interest rates are very good for mortgages right now. The second part of that question was, how is this pandemic potentially helping buyers? So I have a client recently who just got an offer accepted on a house for $25,000 less than what the house was listed at. And the house has been listed for about 6 months, which is a long time in Chester County. And they had dropped the price about 15 grand already. So on top of that 15 grand, they were able to negotiate an additional $25,000 off this house. And so for them, it's working out great. That might not be the case for everybody. There might be people, if it's a a booming house, or a popular house that comes on the market, there might be multiple people putting offers in on that house, and that might increase the price because, if it's a hot commodity, now you're outbidding each other, and that happens. And that's going to happen when this market opens back up. It's going to happen even more and more because so many people are just realizing, I need to get out of my house. I can't live here anymore after being stuck inside for 2 months. Or I can't live with this person no more. Yeah. But anyway, so I think was that 2 parts of the question, or was there a third part?
No, I think you covered that rather well. Now, here's the next person would like to know: can your taxes be reduced in Chester County with an accountant tax lawyer? Can your taxes be reduced?
Sure. So that's absolutely a real estate question or an accountant question, but realistically, yes, potentially. So that depends. So when I bought a house, there was a lot of work that needed to be done. It was a major fixer-upper. And so we bought the house at a greatly reduced price. We then appealed our taxes, and we're in Coatesville, West Brandywine, and the taxes were greatly reduced. 1/3 of the percent, 1/3 of what the taxes are, we got a third reduction, which is about $1,500 a year or more. So you can appeal them. I think normally you can appeal them around August or September. It's only $25, but usually they're gonna check the value of the house, and if you recently bought it for under price, you're gonna win. If you bought it for overprice, you might get yourself in more taxes. And if you've been living there for a while, I don't know the answer to that. You need to talk to a realtor.
Okay. Good stuff. Okay. Now, let me ask you a question. Here's a young person who has a DNB 80. I have no idea. What does that mean? Is that a good thing, bad thing? What does that mean?
Dun & Bradstreet. So they're saying my Dun & Bradstreet business. So they're saying they have a business, and they have a business credit score with DNB, which is Dun & Bradstreet, and that it's an 80. And that's great. That's great. That's 80 out of 100. That means that business is a low risk. That business pays their bills on time. And that if that business applies for other business credit, they probably will be approved, depending on other factors like how long have they been in business, how much do they make, how many employees they have. There's always multi-levels of factors when it comes to credit and credit approvals. You don't get approved just because of your credit score. You get denied because of your credit score, but you get approved because you have to have provable income. You have to be in business, the longevity. There's multiple factors, but that's a great thing. So that specific business is doing great, even if it's a short business history. They're on the right steps. They paid their bills on time. They got an 80. They've established a score, which means they've had at least 1 or 2 credit builder accounts for their Dun & Bradstreet score, which is awesome. So great job.
Hey, so Mabel, I'm going to give you another shout out because since this is public on my post, Mabel, the sky's the limit, and this is why Mabel, a fan who has a barbecue place in Westchester, she has been there for quite some time. And if you guys are out there in Westchester or anywhere near there, stop in there and you can tell by her score she about some business. So I appreciate that. She's a heck of a young lady. Used to be my customer at Footstop. They used to buy all the sneakers, her husband, and the children. Okay, now here's one more thing. I guess that's enough advertising. Here's something. This person who talked about DMV earlier says, I have the number, but my trade lines are not reporting. Should I call them? Should that person call them?
So I believe they're talking about for business credit, but whether it's business credit or personal credit, if you have some type of credit or a trade line is anything that reports to the credit bureaus, whether it's good or bad. And so if you have a trade line, if you have a business account or a personal account with a bank, and they're not reporting that on-time payment history, you can call them, but honestly, there's not much you can do. You can call them and ask them. You can call them and complain, why aren't you reporting my on-time payment history? But they're going to say, here's what it comes down to. It comes down to money, baby. They got to pay. They got to pay to play. They got to pay to report that information to the business credit bureaus. They got to pay to report that information to the consumer credit bureaus. And so some small banks and some small businesses or business vendors, people that you buy business supplies for, and they might not be small, excuse my wording there, but they just don't want to pay. So for instance, I've ordered thousands of pens, right? So it says Coulter credit repair. They don't report to the business credit bureaus. They're a very large company. They're not small. They're so large that they don't want to pay to report my business payment history on time. And I've written to their CEO. I've tried. And they said, oh, thanks for writing us. We looked into it, and it is not in our best interest. We would have to charge a lot more for your business supplies, and we don't want to do that. So.
Okay. Yep. Right. No, thank you for that. Here's another question. What advice would you have for young people going to college as far as getting student loans to cover their education and the importance of keeping good credit?
Sure. So that's a loaded question. Now you're asking about my personal beliefs on college and student loan debt. And I'll give you some answers there. Basically, if you can work your way through college, even if that means going part-time to some extent, do it. If you can get a sports scholarship or an academic scholarship and still work part-time or full-time through college, do it. I don't recommend people getting into major debt ever. The only good debt's a mortgage, and you still have to be careful with that because there's some mortgages that are not good debt. But if you look, when you're 18 and you're going to college, you don't know what you're going for. I was there. I changed my major 4 times. I didn't know what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And then definitely credit wasn't on the table. That wasn't small business was on the table for sure. But there's no credit education in college. But anyway, it's hard to make that decision. But you got to do, the student has to do some research, and the parents should be doing some research as well, and guidance on what colleges are good, and not necessarily just good, but affordable to some extent. Because, I have plenty of clients that I run into that have hundreds, 100, 150, 200, 250,000, $300,000 in student loan debt, and they make 50 grand a year. And not that 50 grand is not a lot, but when you have $300,000 in student loan debt, you better be a doctor or a lawyer. So be careful, do research. There are companies out there, or people out there, businesses out there that help do this research for you. And there are grant programs and stuff that you can apply for to get some free money and stuff like that. But anyway, to keep a good credit score. So if you do have any student loan, even if it's a $5,000 student loan, while you're in college, it's going to report on time. If you're lucky enough to have a parent who's able to add you to a credit card or co-sign for a credit card while you're in college, that'll be great. That would help you build your on-time payment history through that credit card. Or if you are, if you are diligent enough to have a credit card throughout college, and I said that very carefully because I know plenty of people who went to college and ran up $5,000 in credit card debt and didn't pay it. I hear that story every other day. I was young and dumb, and I just got credit cards, and they were free, and I didn't pay them back because I didn't have a job. So be careful, but you can get a student's credit card. Capital One, Discover, they have student credit cards, and they'll approve you for a $500, $1,000 limit so you could buy your books and whatnot. You just got to make sure you pay that bill on time. So the importance of credit extends past just college, because when you graduate college, well, now you get a good job. How are you going to get to that job? Well, you might have to get a car loan. Not that I'm advocating that necessarily, especially a car loan you can't afford. And then eventually you're going to want to buy a house. And so if you don't pay your electric bill, your utility bills while you're in college, or your roommates didn't pay you their portion and you say, oh, well, I can't pay it now. When you're done, it's going to show on your credit as a collection. And so don't be young and dumb, but that's pretty broad. That's pretty broad.
Okay, my viewers out there, I'm going to welcome some more people in, and I'm going to get to some questions that we had prepared that you may want to know about that, but you either don't know to ask it, too afraid to ask it, or whatever. Hey, Mark, sweet, good to see you. Ella, I'm voting for you whenever you run for office. That's Ella Nicole Vetter, a community activist right there. Pastor Dutton, you know, we've been running into each other for the last couple of days. Welcome aboard. Thanks for tuning in. John Irizarry, I hope I pronounced your last name correctly. And I got some questions here that may help some people. Here's the next question. I applied for a credit card and I got denied. How can I get approved?
Sure. So if you have no credit or bad credit, and that's okay, life happens, you need to start over, right? And so there are credit cards that will approve you, and I don't recommend some of them like First Premier, Indigo. You know, they charge very high fees, $75, you know, so you get this $300 credit card and you already owe $150. So you want to steer clear of some of those. They're called subprime lenders, and they approve you for a reason. They have hidden fees, and they're not hidden. You just don't read the terms and agreements. When you click the buttons online, you're just so excited you got approved for a credit card that you skip past the 40% interest rate and the $100 a year fees. But you can start by rebuilding your credit, or if you have no credit, the best way is with a secured credit card. And so a secured credit card is your own money. It is a security deposit. And so just like a landlord takes a security deposit, you can give your bank or a bank a security deposit. So $200, $300, $400, $500. They all have different limits. Certain banks are $3, certain banks are $5. There's some that are $2. We recommend some that are $200 limits. They're cheaper, they're easier to get. And some of them don't even check your credit for a secured credit card. You give them the money, they give you a Visa card or a MasterCard. You want to barely use that credit card, barely. There's a lot of myths. There's a lot of false information out there on the internet where people will say, I hear all the time, well, I was told you need to max out a credit card every month and then just pay the minimum. Well, that's bad advice. That sounds like the banks are telling you what to do because they're going to make a bunch of money off of you. You always want to pay off a credit card. You never want to carry credit card debt if possible. Credit cards are there in case of an emergency, or to use $20 a month. Well, right now it's very possible to use $20 a month to fill up your gas tank. Whatever, $20, $30, $40 a month, you pay it off, right? That's how you properly and responsibly build your credit back up, by barely using those credit cards and keeping your credit utilization or usage very, very low. Not by maxing it out. Now, yeah, we're not even gonna go there. But anyway, so that's how you rebuild your credit, with secured credit cards, giving your own money, or if you're lucky enough or blessed enough to have somebody, a friend or a family member, who's willing to add you to one of their credit cards that they've never been late on, that they've had open for a couple years, that they don't keep maxed out. They can add you for free as an authorized user, and that can tremendously help your credit score if you have no score or if you have a damaged score. And sometimes if you do that, you can skip the whole process I just explained of a secured credit card. If you have no credit and you add your 18-year-old child onto your credit card, now that didn't make sense because I just said you have no credit, but your child has no credit and you add them to your credit card and you wait a month for that credit card to show up, they then might be able to go and get a regular Capital One credit card for, it's a small limit, $300 or so, but they can skip that whole secured credit card process.
All right, here's a quick question for you before I get back on this. Somebody wants to know, are you licensed in Delaware?
Yeah. Yep. So I can help people in Delaware, all up and down the East Coast for the most part. There's some states that require certain licenses or whatnot. There's some random states out there that I'm not out west that I can't help in, but I can always do a free consultation at the very least and just tell someone, hey, here's what you need to do. I can't take your money. I can't enroll you in my credit repair program, or I can't help you get a mortgage or whatever, but go do this, or talk to my buddy who is licensed, who can help you out. So we can still do a free consultation always. But yes, Delaware, absolutely, yes.
Can you remove hard inquiries, or do they matter?
Was the question, do we remove hard inquiries, or do they matter? Yeah. So, I mean, you can. It depends. Did you apply for that credit? If you applied for that credit and you got approved for that credit, you never want to dispute that hard inquiry. So let's say it's a Capital One credit card and you applied and you get a $300 limit. If you dispute that inquiry, Capital One's going to think that's a fraudulent account and they're going to shut it off. And so now that brand new credit card you just got is shut off. You no longer have access and it's removed from your credit, along with the hard inquiry. We can dispute inquiries if they're fraudulent, if they weren't authorized. But for the most part, inquiries, they're the least important thing on your credit. They account for 10%. Now, normally, I would say that inquiries don't matter. But we just, and I train my employees to tell, when people call in, I tell them to say, oh yeah, inquiries don't really matter. They're the least important thing. Unless you're going for a $250,000 business loan, that's a different story. Or if you just applied for, 15 different credit cards. Now, recently, we just spoke with a gentleman. He's a small business owner, and he's been desperate for credit in his business name and his personal name. This gentleman from New Jersey had 289 inquiries. So in that case, his inquiries mattered. He had so many, every single month he applied for credit cards, car loans, mortgages, everything that you can apply for, he applied for every single month for the last 12 months. So that's not a good idea. And in his situation, inquiries mattered, but in most cases, inquiries don't matter that much.
All right, look, I want to ask a question, Claudia T. Palmer. Claudia, thanks for tuning in. I know you've been chasing us, and she wants to know, why is it bad to close out a card after paying it off?
Yeah, sure. So when it comes to credit, especially any type of credit account that is closed, it's no longer active. It's no longer positively building every month your credit. It's still there. It's still positive, and that's a good thing. Positive accounts will show up for 10 years. After 10 years, they disappear. Negative accounts, on the alternative, negative accounts will show up for 7 years, except for certain things like child support, bankruptcies, and federal student loans. But most negative accounts will show up for 7 years. So closing, if you open up, let's say you go to Best Buy, you get 40% off your $400 TV, and it's 0% interest for the next year. You pay off that TV at 0% interest. You take advantage of the credit game, right? You do it right. You never miss a payment. You get the money, you get the 0% interest, you pay it off, and then you close that credit card. Now that credit card is no longer active. It's no longer positively building your credit every month, and it decreases your credit utilization or usage. And so if you have, let's say you have 3 credit cards and they are all $1,000 limits, okay? And that Best Buy is one of them. And when you close that Best Buy was 0 out of 1,000. You have a Capital One that's 500 out of 1,000, and you have a Wells Fargo that's 800 out of 1,000. You now owe 800 out of 1,000, 500 out of 1,000. and you have 0 out of 1,000, but that's closed. And so now you no longer have 3,000 available. You only have 2,000 available, and you owe too much on those 2 credit cards. And so your credit utilization or usage dramatically decreases, which is the second most important factor for your credit score. It's 30%. A very important factor. The only thing more important of having a credit card and keeping it at a low balance is paying your bills on time, your bills that report to the credit bureaus. So that's why it's not a good idea to ever close a credit card unless I tell people, so I've gotten to the point where I've talked to thousands of people. And so I tell people, look, if you have a problem, then you need to close that credit card. I'll go against the credit advice and say, look, if you have a shopping problem or whatever, you should not be at this store, or what, you always use too much money and you're getting in trouble and you're getting in debt. Great, close the thing, close it down. But that goes against good credit advice, but that's because it's good advice for you. So that's a different story. But if you're disciplined and you can keep a credit card open, even if you're not going to use it very often at all, even if you use it one time a year, you should keep it open.
Good. Thank you for that. Now, here's another one. What is your definition of good or bad credit when it comes to business?
When it comes to business, so there are 3 different business scores: the Dun & Bradstreet PAYDEX score. There's the Equifax Small Business Score and the Experian Small Business Score. They all have different scales. So, for instance, the PAYDEX is 0 out of 100. Anything above a 70 is a good business PAYDEX score. Equifax is 0 out of 350. And so they're all different. So that depends for business. It definitely I was thrown off. I thought it was going to be what's a good personal credit score, and that would depend on what you're applying for. But for business, yeah, I mean, it definitely depends on what you're doing and which business credit bureau they're using. But yeah, 70 or higher. PAYDEX is the most commonly used, so I'll go off of that, 70 or higher.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Let me see. Where are we at? I want to get back to this on this list. It says, I just got served a lawsuit and I was sued for an old credit card. What should I do?
Sure. So we are not attorneys. We work with lawyers. We refer clients to lawyers. Most of the time it's for illegal credit reporting or harassment or stuff like that, where our clients don't have to pay the lawyers. If you have been sued for a credit card debt, you will have to pay a lawyer to defend you in court and try to beat that credit card. Again, I'm not giving legal advice in this situation, but show up to court. Most people, they're going to take you to small claims court. So they're going to take you to Judge Hines or Judge Grover down the road. Show up. You know, they are people for the community. And if you show up and these banks show up with some random lawyer who knows nothing about the case, you could potentially win. They might not even show up half the time, let's say. So show up to court. And if they show up and they prove that it's your credit card, well, try to work something out then. If you lose, you got to pay it. It will prevent you from buying a house or selling a house. So if you have a court judgment, that has to be taken care of. But if you show up and they don't show up, you win. They expect you not to show up for credit card debts, especially because oh yeah, that was my Best Buy card. I ran it up. I fell on hard times. I didn't pay it. Why am I going to show up to court and embarrass myself? Well, they know that. They're not going to show up most of the times either. Now, if it's a lot of money, they're going to show up. But people get sued for under $1,500, quite a bit. And if you just show up, you might be surprised. So I'll say that without giving legal advice.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I want to welcome a few more viewers that have come on while you were answering that question. We want to welcome Crystal Jones Lowry up there in Regency, Anthony Stewart, David L. Phillips Jr. He was with us when we first started Dream Team. You remember him? He's the painter. And
Of course.
Levi has checked in. Elizabeth has checked in. And we're going to go to the next question on this list. What type of accounts can show up in collections on my credit?
Sure. So, this is a great question. So anything, anything that you entered into a contract with that you didn't pay can show up in collections. I have seen $5 medical bills. I have seen $20 library fines. I've seen parking tickets. I've seen gym memberships. You name it, I've probably seen it. Car insurance, auto insurance, whatever. Credit cards, of course. Utility bills, of course. Anything that you enter into a contract with that isn't paid could potentially be sent to a collection agency or sold to a debt buyer and show up on your credit. You have to have a contract, though. And so parking tickets and library fines should no longer be on credit reports because Congress changed that about 3 years ago. Although I just saw a parking ticket the other day from Rehoboth Beach. So I don't know how that happened, but these debt collectors do sneaky things. But anyway.
Oh boy. Okay. Hey, look, we have one viewer who would like to talk to you later on. We have Nelson. Why don't you reach out to Ramsey's Facebook page and arrange a meeting because he's interested in talking to you. John Hamm, it's good to see you, man. I know you got good credit. You don't really need the seminar, but I thank you for viewing. Next question. What score do I need to get a mortgage?
Well, that recently changed, not because of the requirements, but it's what's called overlays with mortgage companies. And so due to this pandemic, things have changed. Life as we know it has changed, and the mortgage industry has currently temporarily changed. We're hoping for it to go back to normal, but what's normal? The lowest credit score allowed to get a mortgage is a 580. You don't want a 580. You are going to get a really bad interest rate. You can't do that right now anyway. Right now, the lowest score I've heard of getting a mortgage is a 620. Most banks want you to have a 640 or a 660. And some even a 680 or a 700. And the reason is that a lot of people right now, due to the CARES Act was not just a $1,200 check. It was not just money for small businesses. There was 1,400 pages to that act. And some of those pages applied to banks, and they are not allowed to foreclose right now. You're not allowed to have a repossession right now. I won't tell everything because some of it can be dangerous for some of the wrong people, but certain things like that can't happen. You can't be sued right now for certain things or credit card debts right now, temporarily. It will happen later. So pay your rent and pay your mortgage and pay your car loan because they will come and take it in about 6 months. But where was I going with that? What was the question?
What score do I need to get a mortgage?
Oh, right. And so because mortgage companies are not getting paid right now, the mortgage industry is stricter than it's ever been. 660 or plus right now. That's the good advice to give people right now. 660 or higher, and those are not Credit Karma scores. Those are your FICO mortgage industry scores. I just talked to a gentleman earlier. He was denied by his credit union, and he had a 650 credit score, and he was denied a mortgage, and they didn't explain why. They didn't tell him how to build his credit or repair his credit, which he didn't need much repairing. Just pay one tiny little medical bill that I said, hey, go pay. I know that company will delete it. He called them. They deleted it. It was $28. It's gone, or it will be gone. It's going to help his score and to pay down some credit card debt, and he'll be ready in about 30 days to get a mortgage. But anyway, 660 or higher is what you want to have right now. 2 months ago, we were telling people 620 or higher. If you want the best interest rate, a 740 or higher. Once you're at 740, you're the same interest rate as an 840 credit score.
Good stuff. Thank you, man. Let me see. I disputed on Credit Karma and the account didn't come off. How can you get it off?
Yeah. So one good thing about this pandemic right now is that the credit bureaus are understaffed. And so they're not allowing, oops, hold on, am I still there? Okay. They're not allowing online disputes through Credit Karma. So that's a good thing, because you don't want to do an online dispute through Credit Karma. When you do an online dispute through Credit Karma, you're making the credit bureau's job very easy. You're in their computer system. You click a button and they just say, yep, this is yours. They don't have to respond. They don't have to provide what is called a method of verification. How do they verify that debt? They just click a button and say, yep, it's yours. And so you don't ever want to do an online dispute unless you know what you're doing, or if you're just disputing incorrect names or addresses. That's perfectly fine. Personal information that's incorrect, phone numbers, where you've worked, places of employment, old addresses, sure, dispute them online, no problem. But when you dispute online, you waive a lot of your consumer rights. And so you want to write a letter to the credit bureaus. You can call them, but right now you don't want to call them. We were on hold the other day for 2.5 hours trying to call the credit bureaus for a client to take care of something over the phone, because it's the quicker way to do it. So we did it, but it was not fun. You write a letter to all 3 credit bureaus and you let them know what's going on. You let them know, I don't know what this account is. I think it's an error, whatever. I don't agree. I don't owe Comcast $856. Maybe I only owe them $300. How do I owe $856? Prove it to me. You write a letter, you write a dispute letter to the credit bureaus. You make it custom. You don't buy those templates offline. Yes, I know you can go to Google and spend 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks and buy just magic dispute letters that are going to get everything off your credit. It's not true. Doesn't exist. You might get lucky and get some stuff off from these dispute letters, but the credit bureaus know if these are custom letters that you manually made for yourself, or if they keep track of everything. They scan every letter. And so they know if they've seen that letter 5,000 times or 5 times. And so you want to manually do a letter. But anyway, that's too much info.
Man, that is some good stuff. You know what? Look, it may not seem like it's you, but we've been on for almost an hour, man. And you have been running things off, man, answering questions. And I truly, truly appreciate you. Is there any advice? I think we're coming to that hour where we can call it an evening. Is there any advice or tell them how they can reach you? Let's do that. Tell them,
Yeah, sure. So you can reach out on Facebook. You can call. Please wait until tomorrow morning. Give me like 12 hours, till 9 a.m. tomorrow morning or so. But normally, you can call 610-350-4683. That's our office number. We got a couple employees. If nobody's there, we do have a call answering. You can schedule a time to talk to me or somebody at our company for a free consultation. You can reach out on Facebook. It's Coulter Credit LLC. That's COULTER Credit LLC. You can message our business page. I respond to that all the time, because guess what? As a business owner, you get penalized from Facebook if you don't respond to a message on your business page. So now I just told everybody the secret. If you message me on my personal page, you might not get an instant response. But if you message me on my business page, I'm going to respond really quick, even if it's the middle of the night and I wake up to one of my kids. I'm going to respond real quick and say, I'll call you tomorrow or something. But yeah, you can always call for a free consultation. It's always a free consultation. We're not one of these big companies that just signs up everybody. We customize a plan for that person. And if we can't help them, we're going to tell them, we can't help you. Go do X, Y, and Z, and don't pay any money for credit repair. There's plenty of times where we tell people to not pay for credit repair because it's not in your best interest at this time. So call us. That's the best way to get a hold of us.
Before I let you go, I want you to kind of like give I would say a suggestion to entrepreneurs, because you did something. You took a leap of faith. You quit your job and you just went into what you felt like you were here to do. Can you give upcoming entrepreneurs or people that are afraid to go to that next phase. Any insight or suggestions in regards to how you did what you did? You know, not too long, but just tell us a little something about it.
Yeah, sure. So, you know, you got to have faith. You got to believe in yourself. You know, hard work pays off, and honesty is the most important thing. If you don't know the answer, don't give an answer. There's so many people out there who will say fake it till you make it, and that is nonsense. That is not, you're going to get fake results with that. Honesty goes a very long way. And when, just like earlier, you know, Fonz, when somebody was asking a question, I said, hey, look, here's what I know. And the rest, go talk to a realtor, because that's a real estate question. That's not my lane. I don't know that exact answer. Go talk to a professional. But what I do know is X, Y, and Z. And so if you do that and you're honest with people, honesty is what matters. Honesty is why we have hundreds of positive reviews on Facebook and Google and the internet. We have hundreds of positive reviews. They weren't all clients, but we did a free consultation. We were honest. We said, we're not going to take your money. We're going to tell you what to do by yourself. And in return, here's what I want you to do. Go write us a review and tell your friends and family to call. And guess what? That's the best way to get great referrals. You be honest and you give free advice as much as possible. I'm not saying to spend, 5 hours on the phone with every person you can't help, but that would be the best advice I got.
Ramsey, I want to thank you, man. This has been a real informative evening. I want everybody who's viewing this, you will also be able to see this in its entirety. Just click on my page, because I'm going to have it there, and I save it. I put all these interviews into my archives. Man, I can't thank Ramsey enough for coming on, because a lot of that information is the key, man. That's the power right there, man. Knowing some stuff, and it's a time saver and everything else. Ramsey, I want to thank you once again, man. We're going to talk soon. You can sign off. I'm going to say goodnight to the people that are viewing, and we'll talk somewhere down the line. Prayerfully, this will help you a little bit to get some more customers, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, I greatly appreciate you having me on, Fonz. It's always great talking to you, and you got my cell if you ever need anything. You know that.
You know that, man. All right, I want you to have a good night, man. We're going to talk soon.
All right, thanks so much. See ya.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Oh, this was a good one. Well, I'll just mute you. I don't know if you know how to sign off, but so, ladies and gentlemen, look. Before I sign off, I want to let y'all know about upcoming events for this week coming up. We're going to have Walt Anderson, lead singer of Cool and the Gang, will be interviewed 8 o'clock on Monday evening. That's an exciting one. I expect everybody to tune in, give him shout outs, because he's from Coatesville. On Tuesday, we're going to have Steve and Shannon Kirk. They are the ones who, I believe, they began the Scott Field Project. And you won't even notice it. You won't even recognize it, because of all the work, all the money that they've spent on that project, man. They're fantastic. I can't wait to see them on here to get some of that. Well, actually, they have provided me with inspiration. How they brought people together to do what they had to do. So yeah, so that's Tuesday. Then Thursday at 8 p.m., I believe, it's either 7 or 8. I'll give you the exact time. We'll have State Representative Dan K. Williams. So that's the lineup for this upcoming week. And I hope you enjoyed this broadcast. This is City Town Talk, and I'm trying to make Chester County just a little bit smaller and a little bit more personal. So with that being said, I want to say goodnight to everybody. Coatesville's rising, and we all matter. Peace out.